Property Podcast. Now, for those watching, listening, we're doing all this from the comfort of our homes or gardens, so there may be some kids drop in behind me. I don't know. Maybe birds, maybe lions, tigers. I don't know. But whatever happens, we'll do our best to get this out to you in as good quality as possible. But we've got myself, Ashley Banfield, on. We've got Jimmy London. Hello, Jimmy.
Hey, you guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Good, mate. How are you?
You've actually got the virus.
Yeah, I've today I've felt the best I've ever felt. I don't know whether I've had so much crap inside me, basically, but I've sweated it out. It's come out, and I feel $1 billion today, so which is good. Yeah, I had it for about a week, 6 days. It's not nice. You just feel dizzy and losing your taste and your smell is very weird. Especially when you're trying to eat a meal and really want to taste it and you can't taste the thing. But yeah, back out the other side now, and I honestly say I've never felt so good today.
Well, mate, good to hear. And we've got Emmanuel Ezekiel. Emmanuel's in the garden.
Hi, everyone.
Emmanuel.
I am on my patio, enjoying it.
And how are you, mate? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Besides all the stuff that we have to deal with, all the different areas in property, the rest of it's all pretty good.
Yeah, good. Okay, and we've got Brett Allegra Wood from, where are you, mate, in the world? Is it Singapore at the moment?
Singapore, yeah. Yeah, so.
And how's it out there, mate, with all the coronavirus and everything?
Well, we've gone into a lockdown as well pretty much till the end of the month. So we're sort of, it was a very easy progress because it was phased in over time. So actually, and things like that. So we're not facing it as bad, but the government stayed ahead of things here, which is quite good. I think that's really made a difference. So yeah,
that's great news, mate. Good, and you're looking very studious today, mate. Very smart.
Well, I've got glasses on.
Yeah, and you've had your hair cut. Did your missus cut your hair?
No. I need a haircut though. It's getting a bit long. I like it short. Although not like yours.
Yeah, I know. No, you feel. Cheers. So listen, welcome everyone. Today we want to talk about and help. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about what's going on at the moment in coronavirus, and I'm sure everybody knows what's going on, no matter what country you're in, wherever you are. But what we want to try and focus on now is what happens when this all finishes, and how do we start to prepare for it now? A way of the business, property businesses, developments that might be out there. I know Emmanuel's got 3 or 4 on the go at the moment, so it'd be good to hear about how he's handling the changes coming up in the next. Let's try and focus on towards the end of the June. So let's be realistic that maybe in the UK, maybe in Singapore, I don't know, most places apart from maybe America, who's just sort of coming on a bit late, that we're probably realistically, that's when we'll start to see some sort of restrictions lifted within our own country, maybe not international travel. So let's talk about our own expertise in our own areas, about how we see us coming out of this and the opportunities that it gives us. And Brett, if you want to go first, that'll be great, and we'll give you an international view there.
Cool. So it's interesting because every day I've been doing videos. So I've done over 43 videos in the last 3 weeks on these sort of subjects. And it's been interesting to do heaps of research on that. But I think the reality is anyone that says this is what's going to happen is full of crap. Yeah. Because we're in uncharted territories. And I just did a video today which was about, this compared to the 2008 crisis, because we were right in the thick of it. I had about 80 staff at that stage. So now we've got about 40 staff. But there are, and what I said in that video was it's same, but different. We can give it another name. We can say that there's different circumstances and all that. But at the end of the day, it still ends up in, we V-shape, we U-shape, we depression, we deflation, we inflation, we stagflation. And so they're really our options, if you like. And I think for me, the big thing here is that all different countries are going to come out differently at different times because they're all wanting to get back in. And I think the reality is someone like America, I see as just being a bit of a bloodbath right now. They've done exactly the same response they did in 2008, which was give lots and lots of money to the rich and the big companies, and they've really left their poor middle class alone. Other countries, I think, in the middle of the sort of in the other end of the spectrum, have actually given money directly to individuals. Like the UK, with the furloughing, what they've actually done is they've reduced the amount of unemployment. And interesting, Australia started off not doing that, and heaps of people, I think there was 1 million people in one day joined the unemployment line, and so they had to change their
much
tax.
like America. Much
Yeah,
like America,
and it
millions
was
of them,
very
yeah.
much. But what they have done is they've now reversed that. And I mean, even with my business in Aussie, we've now been able to look at actually bringing those other staff back on because our business isn't as badly affected as it could have been. And I think it's going to be all different. And I think the trick is, and as you mentioned, coming out is going to be the real thing, the real skill. Going into it, I think the UK and a number of economies, by directly giving money to individuals and small business, they've saved that unemployment rate. They've actually, if you like, pressed pause on the economy. And pause doesn't mean stop. It just means that there might be 30% of the, GDP drop or something like that. We don't know what the figures are. They're not probably accurate anyway. But I think the real test is what we come out with. And I mean, I can talk forever about those. But yeah, I thought I might hand over to one of you guys and see what your thoughts are.
Thanks, Brett. That's good insight. Emmanuel, from your side, developments, what's going on at the moment? I know that they've put constructions on hold. I've had a lot of people, we're in a new house at the moment. I've had lots of people. I've had the Sky Man come in. He's not allowed to come into the house, so he's been, giving me instructions through the window and what to do. So basically, I've fitted Sky for him, and he asked me for a 10 review. I went, mate, can you give me one too? I've done the fitting. Well, we've got certain people, he did give me a 10, by the way. But we an engineer from BT come into the house. No one can come into the house apparently. And I've had a guy at the front sitting on a digger, so that's been okay because he's on his own and there's no material, so it's easy for him to do. However, Emmanuel, with you, there's people who've got to work together. They've got to obviously come into the properties. In some cases, they've got to produce the property. How's it all going from, I'm genuinely interested myself on how it's all going for you and what you see in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, so the government have given quite a bit of conflicting advice in regards to development in terms of construction and that they can continue. However, to be able to keep social distancing on a small site, and most of our sites are small, sort of up to 9 units, it's almost impossible to do that. So we've taken a very difficult decision and decided to close our sites. We felt that was the right thing to do for the health and safety for the people on our sites. It's not just about profit, it's about doing the right thing and be shown to do the right thing. And
so just on that, just before you go on, what are you doing with the banks and that? Because people are going to want to know, they've got development sites. What are you doing with the banks? Obviously you've got progress payments and that type of thing. How's it coming with stalling? Because you're not just shutting the site, you're stalling and stopping the project.
Okay, so part of the decision is a painful commercial decision because the banks don't see it in the same way as we do. They still want to have their payment. Most of the development financing is not with what I call high street banks. It's a commercial kind of arrangement. So they still want to be paid, and they will certainly take advantage of developers that are highly geared. And I won't say which lenders at the moment are doing that with us, but that's certainly happening. And that's going to happen for a lot of developers. So the first thing I would say is if you're in development, you need to join other developers forums to have help and advice. There's lots of new developers, new kids on the block that don't really know what they're doing, especially on the finance side. So this is a time of getting all the information, collating it together to see how you can progress it. So lenders have covenants. And if you breach the covenant, which is a certain loan to value, typically 65%, they will need you to put more money into your development. So if you're highly geared and you haven't got cash, be expected in the next 2 to 4 months for those banks to start stepping in. And those banks will typically step in if you're within 25% of the start or the last 75%. So the first part and the last part. The middle part, it gets tricky for them. But towards the end or right at the beginning, those are the stages the lenders will step in. And we're really hearing noises about that. I've been part of a forum to do with liquidators, receivers, administrators, and they're getting similar kind of briefings. So all the banks at the moment don't want to be held out, so they're going to hold for the next couple of months. But as soon as we come out at the end of this, just expect for the cat to be let out the bag.
So that's not helping anyone, is it? It's not helping a bank either, because I mean, a lot of these smaller guys will probably just fold it up and say, look, I'll take the hit. Because the hit now may be less than what it's going to be. I don't know. They may not have that extra 10, 15, 20% to put in, especially if it's a $500,000 plus. That's a lot of money for a lot of people who have maybe borrowed most of the money, if not all, from the bank.
Unfortunately, banks aren't property developers. They aren't property people. They're funders. They're managing risk, and they don't understand and risk the same. So if we go back to 2007, 8, 9, if they would have held on to those assets, everybody would have come out unscathed. But banks didn't do that. They panicked. Panic sets in because their employees are worried about their own jobs, managing risk, and they don't give people the time to work it through. So the truth is, if they were happy to lend before coronavirus, they should be happy to lend after coronavirus. However, because surveyors aren't now going to stand by their valuations, everything's in flux. So the whole property market is in flux, and that's why you need the support, the information, especially the legal structure, to see how you can actually manage your debt within the bank. Now, some banks are good, but I'd say 50% of all funders are new banks, they're challenger banks, and they have investors, they have crowdfunding, they have different platforms, and they don't have the same financial stability. So there will be some difficult times for a lot of developers.
So what can they do? What can they do? They read the bank. It sounds like the banks have just closed their ears and closed their eyes and decided, stiff, it's the way it is, and you got to either my way or the highway.
So every developer will have their own various personal circumstances. So those that have financial stability, the bank will probably work with you because they know that you have assets in the background. Those that don't need to start talking to the lenders from now to start working out how they can manage through the process. The worst you can do is not to communicate. Is to get in from an early stage, to have that communication, have that dialogue, and don't take no for an answer. Keep going up the line until you can find somebody that you can have a proper conversation and go through your project.
One of the differences that could be this time that I'm finding is that if you look at the 2008 crisis, it was all about collateralized debt obligation, CDOs, and the process of securitization. And that's why Northern Rock, which was securitizing, and what they're doing, they were packaging crap loans with good loans and calling them all A-plus loans. And so the level of trust dropped. But this time, there's a lot more liquidity in the market, and there's a lot more liquidity to come in the market. So as long as banks can keep that trust, then the likelihood is then the lending will continue. And I think the banks, they've got lots of reserves. But see, this is the problem. This is the main high street banks, not necessarily the startup challengers, as you said. And so that's where I think if you're with a challenger, you're probably in a bit more of a precarious position. But if you're with a high street bank, and that you might be in a better position. But if that confidence gets shot, and they start realizing that, hold on a sec, I can't actually lend to another bank, which that's the repo side of things. That could be a real issue. and then we could be back where we are in 2008. You know?
Yeah, so
Yeah, I agree.
lenders already factoring a lower loan to value on developments. So where they would go up to 75, 80% loan to cost, that's coming down to around about 65.
Yep.
So they're already building that in. They're already building in a lower valuation. So you're going to have to put a lot more money into each and every deal. That's not such a bad thing, by the way. But it's
Well, there'll be
those
less
people
deals.
already in a deal. Those people already in a deal that have got financing and they've got maybe mezz finance or equity partners, they're the ones going to start struggling.
Yeah. We've found a lot of our developers, of course, one of the first things we did was we said, right, you know, we want 30% off prices, you know, a bit tongue in cheek to be fair, but we were kind of half serious about it. But actually, what they've come back with, if we've had 3.5 years of Brexit, so their volumes of production have been lower, their sales rate has been lower, and they're actually geared up for lower. So whereas 2008, there was a massive overhang of supply, there's not that anymore. So we're seeing the developers are happy just to sit there and wait out the lockout and then give us 6 weeks, 2 months to see what happens.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
Yeah, it's very, yeah, like you say, it is same as 2007, 2008, but it is very different. The simple fact is that nobody's been through this, and nobody, you know, in our lifetime, if you like, and no one knows what's going to happen. That's the thing. That's the difference. So, yeah, it's a little bit scary in some places, but I'm looking at opportunities. I mean, we had a similar things with insurance companies. I mean, insurance companies have been buggers, to be fair. With our nurseries and stuff, my wife has fought tooth and nail to be able to get the insurance. And only now in this last week have we had the loss adjuster come in, and we've got a load of work we've got to do with numbers and that type of stuff, so they know exactly where we're at in the nurseries, and then, you know, what the losses percentages. They work on all these different percentages and everything through insurance. So we have now got that. So thank you, God, or whoever you pray to. Yeah, thanks, Victoria. We've got it. And that's helped us. We've also been able to take advantage of the grants, you know, whether it's the £10,000 or the £25,000 grant. So, you know, one of my businesses I set up, Desk Club, it's been a bit of a coup, if you like, because it's only just started, and we've been given 10 grand as a bit of a cash injection. So, you know, so for me, it's worked out well in that business. Other businesses that we've got, you know, like the pub, the hotel, have been hit hard. 2 hours. Sorry, my son. So we're gonna, you know, with one second while I just disturb my son. Thank you very much. Nice weather out here in the garden, but then they're isolated. You know, I'm trying to isolate myself here. No chance. I'm like this magnet for kids and dogs, and he turned up this morning with a dead vole. I'm like, okay, no worries, mate. And that was on another call. So yeah, so you know, well, Jimmy, we're partners in the pub in Tottenham, a hotel, and that, and you know, we've been most of the providers have been really good, and you know, the cash injection there, the 25 grand, will help us a great deal. We only have one full-time worker, so she's been furlonged, and she's getting 80% of her pay. And the thing about being furlonged is that they can't actually do work for us. And that's the same with the nurseries. Is, you know, we've managed to keep all the staff. Actually, we at the start we got rid of 3 or 4 staff. Now we've actually been able to bring those back because of this, you know, the furlong and stuff. But they're not allowed to do any work for us, and there's stuff that needs doing for the nursery. So my wife has to go in and do it, but she can't actually furlong herself. So yeah, it's you know, like Emmanuel, like you said, is that you've just got to get the information, do what you can with it. Forget all the shit about 5G's killing people with coronavirus and all this other news and stuff that's just going to make you extremely, extremely anxious. You know, I've got a load of people that we have on a WhatsApp group that we mentor for service accommodation. And, you know, I look and read about some of the people out there on different forums for service accommodation, and they've just thrown it in, and they've given it up. And the guys that we've got, they're fighting hard, they're keeping it, they're getting the long-term bookings. They're not making the money that they were, the profits. Some are just breaking even. But for us, we're keeping the business running. We're managing our long-term stays with the key workers and the NHS workers, because I don't know if you know, but all the government's basically said you can't use Airbnb, Booking.com, and that type of thing. So we've been doing a lot of direct marketing, and the way we see it, we're having a call this morning on it, is we're looking, let's say end of May into June, that type of thing, where the government may lift restrictions locally. So there's going to be a lot of people looking for staycations. I mean, it's like, we've all got kids.
I just about in there, Ash.
Yeah, go on.
So this morning, my other hotel, the Summerfield, it's only an 8-bed place. Now, we had a local nursing home approach my cleaner. Just by the off chance, she was walking in and they said, "Oh, are you open?" And she went, "Well, no, the pub downstairs is not open, but the accommodation, we've got a few bookings in there." And they said, "Oh, how many rooms have you got?" Well, she told them. She's come in. Now, they move in. They've booked for the next 3 months, all rooms out. Now, I've done them at a ridiculously cheap rate of £200 for the week. But I'd rather take that booking. It's like nearly 17 grand's worth of money that I've requested to pay up front before they move in. I don't want to take it. So, yep. Yeah, you're right. In targeting these local businesses, and that was just like, yeah, that did fall into our hands. But if you're out there and you're a business, whether you're serviced accommodation, I mean, look at the XL. Now, that's, what they've done over there in turning that into a hospital. I know at least 20 operators over there in serviced accommodation. Now, if they've not attacked that direct, then, more fool them, 100%. Really, because yes, all right, you might not be profiting of it, but at least you're going to keep your business running and keep the wheels turning. And if they are getting grants or they are getting overdrafts or business loans, if anything, look at this as, right, okay, sometimes you need a time like this to actually really strip back in what you have been carrying in your business, because I've done it and I'm in that position at the moment. Yes, I got quite big quite quickly, and it's only in times like this that actually I think, well, I don't need that and I don't need this and I don't need, but when everything's 100 mile an hour and you're in a rat race and yes, we do that, we do this, I've always been a bit of a yes man. I do say yes to a lot of things sometimes. When in scenarios like this, I look back and think, actually, I maybe not should have took that property on or done that. So yeah, it's
a great level up.
Yeah, it is weird times that we're going through. But it's like what Emmanuel said.
I think that's one of the key points of this time now with being furloughed or being locked down or whatever it is that actually you need to look at your business and go, is my business still viable afterwards? And if it's not, then look at where you need to pivot to make the new business, which might be the same business, but just a slight pivot to make that profitable. And if you have to strip away some properties or strip away from, cut the losers and ride the winners, as we say.
Yeah.
So culling doesn't, culling's good.
One of the things I think that will come out of this, and it'll probably be music to Jimmy and Ashley's ears, is that the HMO model is probably going to increase quite dramatically as people try to reduce their overheads. And rather than being in one-bedroom apartments or studios, will probably go for the comfort of a lower cost with a HMO if it's done to a high standard. So I think that kind of model will continue. So those that have good HMOs and keep the standard up high, you'll find that that demand will go up, in my opinion, in the short term, for sure.
And I agree,
I've noticed that from a couple of just properties that I posted last week. One was a one-bed flat, the other one was a 3-bed house. Both these people have taken these. I just said, where have you? We was renting a 5-bed property. We don't need that now. And so exactly like that model, it's just going to go down the line. It really is.
Yeah, it's to me. There's loads of opportunity. I mean, I feel sorry for the people who've dropped out, or they're too scared, or just didn't have the knowledge that they've dropped out of either the property business, HMOs, microflats, service accommodation, whatever it might be. But already on our mentoring course, we are now focused on what do we do? How do we approach it? How do we talk to agents? What conversations should we be having now? How can we lock in properties now with some sort of holding fee that we're going to take on the property in June or as soon as the government says we're now relaxing, you can do this, and we're basing these agreements, if you like, these short-term agreements on the notification from the government, and then the agents know, or the landlord knows, right, as soon as that gets done, Ash has taken the property, or Jimmy's taken the property, Manuel, Brett's taken the property.
I think you're going to get that a lot with agents now as well, moving forward. After this, there, maybe agents that have not worked with people before. I'm pretty sure that now, we're all in this together. Everybody needs to help everybody out. So
Jimmy, already, mate, I've got agents who have said no for 2 years. Now I didn't phone them; they're emailing and phoning and texting me. How can we help you, Ash? And I went, well, is it me help you, or is it you help me, or is it quid pro quo? And he said, right, let's help each other.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they've got to stop. They've got to shift it. Sorry,
do you want to add something to that you said, actually? I think it's really important. Over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been an influx of people in the HMO and the service accommodation business, really getting people who've got no money to get into property. And this shows that you do need money, and you do need money behind you when times are tough. And there's lots of people that have maybe 1 or 2 properties that don't have the cash flow, that don't have the savings, that can't weather the storm. And they've been sold on this dream, or they've borrowed money from other people to do this. And I think this is where our industry has fallen over, trying to get people just onto a system without really checking their financial status. And I think there'll be a lot of opportunities coming out of this. And that's why the forums and why that people that in HMOs or service accommodation should reach out to people like you and Jimmy, because you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's not easy. Somebody said to me last week or something, sent me a message, oh, you've got it really easy, mate. I went, hang on a minute. They said that the day before, Jimmy's sending me videos of the ceiling falling in the pub, water coming in like somebody had a bloody fire hose, and and they go, oh, you got it easy, boys. Just what happened there, Jimmy? Is it all done? I know it's all done.
Yeah. So one of the tradesmen put a nail when they boarded the floorboards in one of the bedrooms. Now this is the one on the first floor. When I've turned the pressure on to the boiler to fire up all the system, I've gone back in the office, not thought nothing about it. Hour and a half later, I come downstairs and I can hear a waterfall, like literally a waterfall. Open the pub door and the ceiling's fallen down. It was pretty crazy. Just on top of everything else that we're dealing with through this time. I was like, I really got hit that day. I had a bad day myself. I did have quite a bad day myself. Sometimes you get good days in business. That for me was definitely a bad day.
But then on the positive, if the pub was open and it was full, the hotel, we'd have been knackered.
It would have got wet.
Yeah.
It would have got soaked.
Are we still giving free toilet paper in the hotel?
Yeah, don't, man.
It's
well,
interesting.
Boy,
I was just going to say, in 2009, I think it was, 2013, I wrote a book called How to Predict House Prices. And in there, I tracked 5 property experts that all had 0 to 80 in 3 years, and like all the guru type statuses. But every single one of them had gone bust. And what Emmanuel was saying before about having money behind you, and they had all built it up. It was a house of cards, and I think it's now where those house of cards fall down, and you realise that people are have been talking sense and not sensationalising and not saying how easy it is and telling the truth. They're the guys that survive, because it invariably it happens.
Yeah. I mean, no one can predict this. No one would ever predict it. They talk about Bill Gates predicting all this. Who knows? But he didn't tell us a year ago. Look out, we need to start preparing for the next 12 months because it's going to be lockdown. Yeah, so I think that's a load of crap myself. But anyway, so boys, you're all looking good. Jimmy, considering you've had the virus, you sound great. You look great, and I can see your family behind you have been enjoying the sunshine. So, well done.
Yeah. Oh, no, they're
You
not out
can't see
there
him
now.
now,
They're,
no.
they're around the playground side.
Yeah, I think mine
Oh,
might have
don't.
been locked down somewhere by my wife because they've now disappeared. They started having a water fight, and the last time Emmanuel and I had a water fight, I lost, and so did my PC.
Well, I'll show.
So,
Uh,
Brett, babe, what time is it
Yeah.
over there?
It's like 8 o'clock, 8:30.
Yeah, good. Okay, family all good, all well?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, we're all good. I mean,
Good.
I come back on the 15th of 14th. Yeah, 15th of March. So I
Yeah.
missed all the lockouts, but I had to go straight into a 14-day self-imposed quarantine. So that was pretty
Oh,
interesting.
really?
Yeah, so I was in the
Wow.
house, but I just wasn't allowed to touch the kids or do anything, eat with them, touch anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I got waited on, maybe making coffees and dinner and all that sort of stuff. So that was good. But actually now, now we're just as a family unit. It's quite good actually, and we're lucky over here because we're in a big landed property. We've got outside space, we've got garden, we've got a big house.
yeah,
But a lot of people are in condos, and I kind of feel for some of my staff when I look at them on the Zoom and they're in their apartment, and the reality is they're not really allowed to go out too much.
yeah.
You sort of
yeah,
think, wow. And it's interesting because with the employees, because every day at 9:30 we have a Zoom meeting for all the staff, including the furloughed guys, and then each department has their own Zoom as well. So, but that's actually been really good to keep the camaraderie and keep the morale up and deal with any, because a few of the guys with the management side. I mean, the sales guys are furloughed pretty much because that
yeah,
business isn't doing well, but the management guys are busier than ever. And they're copying a lot of stress because they're copying it from tenants who are saying we want free rent, and they're copying it from landlords who are saying, am I going to get paid my rent? And so as we've just on Friday, we've just been dealing with a few issues. Is that the number of people, the staff have become doing their job, which is their normal job, but now they're doing 80% of their job is dealing with people's emotions. They're becoming almost counselors.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that's
I understand that
difference.
completely.
I've had that a
Yeah,
couple of times, but with tenants
yeah,
ringing me on the phone, like sort of, near enough crying down the phone, and it's like, and I've got enough with the
Yeah,
kids.
yeah,
As well
yeah,
as it is, I'm trying to help everybody out, but yeah,
Well, that was one of the
yeah,
problems too. Is the staff are at home, and a lot of them have got kids, so they've got the kids to
yeah.
deal with, and
mm,
and now they've got the
100%.
job to deal with. So yeah, so
So,
it's
so,
pretty,
so
it's pretty
can
emotive
I add
time.
something in?
Yeah,
Oh, go on,
So
mate. Yeah, sitting out there in the
Brett,
thing fair long.
Brett and I have been doing a couple of videos on this as well, and it's really about living well within your means. So
Mm,
most people are going to be furloughed. They're not going to be living on 80% of what they're earning. But the truth is, if you simplify your life and you can live on 50% of what you earn, and then you invest and you save the rest, when these situations arise, then you will have the finances, you will have the savings, and you have to aim to have 3 to 6 months of all your costs saved for times like this. We never thought we'd have a situation like this, but I've been talking about this for the last 15 years, about having 3 to 6
yeah.
months worth of savings. The average person in the UK has a week. So
If
that's
that,
what we
yeah.
need to get to. That's what we
And
need
I'll
that's
to
all
get
in your
to.
book. That's all in your book, actually, about your 50% income and that type of thing. So yeah,
And people
it's
can
a
get
good
it as a
read if you haven't read it.
people can get it as a free download now. If they go on my website, they can get it as a free download. It talks all about how to manage your finances.
What's your website?
It's a 6 Steps to Financial Freedom or emmanuelezekiel.co.uk.
Okay, good. Well done. All right, guys, it's been great. I wish everyone all the success and safety out there while this is going on. But now I think it's time to, hammer down and start thinking about what you're going to do when you come out of this in the next 6 to 8 weeks. That's what I'd be starting to look at. If it doesn't happen in 6 to 8 weeks, at least you'll be ready in 6 to 8 weeks and you'll know what you're doing. Read
yeah,
stuff, learn stuff, keep discipline throughout the day. Don't just, lark about and do nothing. Use this time for your education, use this time to learn, use this time to network on places like this, on Zoom or wherever it is, and get stuck into learning. That's my top advice for today.
The last couple of bits.
Yeah.
Ashley and I are doing a couple of charity events to raise money for the NHS. People can actually get the links from our websites or directly from Facebook. Please support it. It's for a great, great cause. The NHS is doing an amazing job for each and every one of us. So if we can support them in any way we can, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll put those up on Wealth. If you go to Facebook and look at Wealth and Success Academy, I'll put those links on there. Those 2 links. There's 2 separate groups, 2 separate forums there. The one the first one that I'm on is done by Joshua Tharby. I think there's about 30 speakers over a 24-hour period on the 25th of April, of which Emmanuel and I will be chipping in there as well. So there's a lot going on, and all of it, it's a small fee that they're charging, and all of it's, every single penny's going to the NHS. So we're not just standing there clapping them, we're helping them out financially as well. So, I try to inspire everyone to do the same thing if you can. I know a few people. I mentor one lady who's an ICU pediatrics nurse, and she's doing double shifts at the moment, and just it's killing her. But you know what? She's one of the most positive people out there. Hi, Natalie Banfield, one of the most positive people out there. And keep it going, keep your chin up, and keep helping people.
Yeah,
All right, dudes. Thank you. Any other goodbyes?
Good Easter.
All good. Have a good weekend, guys. Take care. Enjoy the sun.
All the best.
See you later.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye bye.